Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping and taking a few minutes to kind of hang with us today. So grab some lunch, grab something to drink, hang out with us, and we're going to chat it up for about 45 minutes. Thanks again. This is our second Women in Tech live broadcast. My name is Marianne Pagano. I'll be your host for today. We're going to kind of round robin. We're going to introduce ourselves and who we are and what we do. I am Black Book Data's Chief Executive Officer. I have been in the industry about 20 plus years. I've been on the bar side my entire life. So I've been in what they call the middle of the channel. I've been in the sales spot, my sales and customer service pretty much my whole life. My reputation is built on who I am and what I bring to the table and my open, honest approach to handling my customers and my vendors. So I thank everyone for their time again today and their partnerships. And I'm going to kind of go around. Lisa, if you can just introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Lisa Bershani, the Director of Network Infrastructure for Russell Reynolds Associates. I've been in technology also for 20 plus years, but I've been at Russell Reynolds for the past 18. In management, I've been for about 13.
Maria.
Excellent. Thanks for having me, Marianne. I'm Maria Lehman. I'm on the New York Enterprise team at Fortinet, a global cybersecurity company. I've been working in a number of roles throughout the years in sales and partnerships, and I'm going on about 11 years in the industry right now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Lehman. I am a business development representative at Fortinet. I have been in the industry for about 8 months, so everyone is a little bit older, but so far everything has been amazing, and I'm very excited to keep learning in this industry.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Kim Collier from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, currently serving as Manager of Technology Solutions and Communication.
So guys, let's have some fun with this subject. I think one of my, being a female CEO in tech and an active female CEO in tech, it's kind of fun to figure out, how different people got into the tech space. So I'll tell you my funny story. So I went to school for technology, didn't do very well in school. And it was my grandmother who found a penny saver, must be dating myself here, who basically found a job and circled it. And it was for a computer company at the time. And she's like, well, go get this job before your mother kills you. Because at that point, I didn't have a direction in life. And I got a job as a receptionist in a technology company. And I've been doing that pretty much ever since. It was a VAR at the time. So I've been doing that literally since the moment my grandmother circled that in the paper. So I always tell people that you don't pick technology, technology kind of picks you. And that's kind of the exact space I've been in pretty much forever. Lisa, how about you? What brought you into the tech space?
I also fell into it. I went to school for psychology. So I guess there's parts of that could be relevant in any job. But I was working in a company and they were putting in a new point of sale system and nobody had free time to learn how to use it. So they're like, oh, you're new. You don't really have anything to work on. So you can have it. And I was like, oh, that's great. So I kind of took it from there. I got involved in understanding how that whole piece worked. And I realized, oh, this is interesting. And I kind of get it. So I went back to school and have been doing this ever since then.
So Marie, you got some longevity in 11 years. What brought you into the tech space, especially the manufacturing?
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Marianne.
You've been in the industry about 11 years. What brought you into the manufacturing side of the house?
Yes. So I went to school for international relations in Spanish. I thought I was going to law school. I was on that track. And then I met someone serendipitously who was working at a ERP company, and he had an internship available, and I decided to take it. Loved it. During the summer that I worked for a company called Epicor. They took me on full time. I was in a sales role, and I didn't look back. And then I pivoted to a cyber company once I moved to New York, and was in a channel role. And now I'm in a sales role. And this is the spot that I want to be in because of how vibrant and transformational the industry has become.
Sophia, you're 8 months. What on earth did you
do? Well, following in my sister Maria's footsteps and my two other sisters who are also in tech, I knew I should have go in that direction. But specifically Fortinet, I always heard Maria on the phone with my parents, like talking about closing deals, losing deals, her success. And I'm like, what is going on? Like when she started, we're 10 years apart. So when she was like talking to my parents, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm super intrigued. So there was an opening position at Fortinet for a BDR, and Maria was like, go take it. And I was like, okay. And I did. And it's been the best opportunity I've taken.
Sophia's also my roommate a couple days during the week when she has to be in the New York City office. So couch surfing and learning. I don't think it can get better than that.
So you have two other sisters, both in technology.
We do.
Correct.
What are your holidays like?
You're more than welcome.
Kim, how about you?
So much like some of you, technology found me way back in the day. I was doing e-commerce at Dun & Bradstreet, and I thought it was amazing. I just kind of fell into it, and then 9/11 happened, and I left there to go help protect the homeland at the Department of Homeland Security. But I missed that techie, component, and so I was kind of doing it as a side hustle. And so eventually, an opportunity opened up at the PA, and I came over here to do it full time.
You've been there a while. I mean, you guys definitely you've made some good strides, right?
Yeah.
I think what happens is, we end up in roles that it doesn't get recognized as much, right? Because you're women, right? So I think a lot of times what happens is, especially Maria in a sales role, right? Most of the salespeople in our industry are men.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't have as many female, right? The ratio to female account managers to male account managers isn't that high. I think it's been really hard to watch that. How do you feel? You're definitely off balance, right? When I struggle trying to find females to do this, it's hard to find enough females.
Yeah, I think there's a gap in talent that needs to be filled. And I think we'll see that with the next generation, because in university, STEM programs are now a big part of an undergraduate education. But from a mentoring perspective, I find that younger women are now very interested in the technology space and are starting to move in that direction. But in my case, I found that I was very much embraced to take a sales role, especially at Fortinet. And I have a number of mentors at all levels that are helping me along the journey to grow and evolve. And Fortinet's an incredible place to work. And bringing Sophia on board was easy too, because of the reputation and credibility that you bring. So I think there's plenty of opportunity to come for women, and just, take advantage of it if you can.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa, you have a big title, right? From a customer's perspective, right? When you look at directors, CIOs, CTOs, right? There's not many out there that you run across that are females. So thanks for coming on, by the way. So it's super important for me to have someone like you on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly. I'm often the only woman in the room when I'm in, vendor meetings or design meetings or any of that. I'm very fortunate that there's a female CIO at my firm, and even her predecessor was female. So I think that, it's given kind of some good legs to stand on and be able to have that kind of behind me. It by no means that I haven't had to fight for some of the things that have come my way, but it's at least nice to not be the only female representing technology. But I'm often the only female in technology discussions. I think more often, maybe I'll see female account managers, very rarely SEs, or certainly not architecture. But my function today covers quite a broad spectrum. So I cover network infrastructure, anything voice, video, collaboration. And it's interesting, as things like voice and collaboration have become more mainstream, you see more females in that space. I think part of it is those are more everyday use tools that people have become accustomed to in their just everyday life. So there's probably sparked some interest to be like, oh, how does that all work, or how can I get that together? But I definitely see more female representation in those areas. Not so much in the engineering side. That's still, I think, a hill to climb for sure. an important one. But
with your title, do you ever feel, because I, as a CEO, I've been in the room where it's like, well, they don't want to really negotiate with you. They want to negotiate with the guy in the room. Does that still happen to you, even with your title?
Probably less now, but I also have longstanding relationships with, I keep a close circle for the most part because I have, vendors that I've worked with for a long time that I've built strong relationships with. And even when I branched out from that, I'm usually introduced by someone who I've had a strong partnership with. I'm very fortunate that my direct manager, who is male, has always been a supporter. So in a room where I would ask a question, if they went to speak to him, or if a question was asked, he would always redirect it back and be like, oh, well, Lisa's the one who looks after that. And he still does that today. It still happens from internal folks who will ask him questions and he'll be like, oh, go talk to Lisa because that's her area. And I think that's important, right? If you're talking about how you gain, stake in and having a voice to be heard when it comes to technology, you need people around you that believe in that. And that'll kind of send the message to others. Not everyone always picks up on it, but I think you need those people who are going to lift you up, to kind of show what your skills are.
Yeah. I mean, Kim, you're in a very male-dominated industry, right? Not just tech, but in public sector, right? I've walked your floor. There aren't too many of you. How do you feel in terms of like just obstacles and, in your day-to-day?
It's a struggle, I have to be honest. And it's not limited just to obviously my department. It's, old adage, men listen to men. So while someone is looking at you and they're nodding, they're not really listening. And if another man says the same thing, we've all heard it. Everyone's like, oh, that's a great idea. And I'm like, I said it 10 seconds ago. So getting it out of, I'll even have people call on me as the technical liaison or the technical resource. And then when I give them the guidance or, propose a solution, they're like, well, do you want to check with someone else, before we do this? Amen. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So it's almost, training them to embrace whatever perception they have and to open their mind a little bit. But it's tough.
No, it is, because I feel like sometimes when I'm in the room, it's like I technically have the highest title in the room. It's like, well, what about him? It's like, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm still a decision maker, right? Lisa, like you, right? We're still decision makers.
Sometimes you have to say that I'm the decision maker. It stops with me. So either we can continue or I can leave because I have other places I can be.
That's why I like Kim. She's sassy. I learned a lot of sassiness from Kim over the last 10 plus years that I've known her. I'm still not sassy. Sophia, learn from Kim. Sassy's good.
Yes, definitely.
Because you get that from experience, right? You get that from being overlooked, because you have to learn to kind of jump up, right? Even Maria, like, you're fighting for accounts. Like, if accounts come in, another counterpart wants that account, and it's both in your bucket, one of you has to jump up louder.
Yeah, it's about building credibility too, and having tough conversations if need be. And how you position it is incredibly important. And then once you have that credibility, people start to trust you and will buy from you. So it takes years to build, though, especially in a market like the New York enterprise, where it's overly competitive and saturated.
I think you have to also quiet. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I think you also have to quiet the noise a little bit and not play into the fact that maybe someone's overlooking you, and just continue on your course, right? You know what you're responsible for. And I definitely feel, I experienced a lot more of this when I was younger. I probably carried myself differently, right? I was probably more apologetic for the things that I was saying, as opposed to hearing, or observing maybe how I was being ignored. And I just kept going, right? Now I would just move past someone like that, or it wouldn't be the vendor I would pick, or it wouldn't be the partnership I would work on. And you surround yourself, but you have to make those choices. But the beginning of that is hard to learn and become comfortable in, right? Like, I'm going to give you my business because I want to work with you, like, from my perspective, right? If I'm in a conversation with somebody, but if I don't feel I'm getting that same respect back, there's more than one people that do what you do. So I think some of it's about building that and just being comfortable and confident in that decision.
I think that makes sense. One thing that I've always believed is that if you set a boundary or put limits on yourself, then you're not going to grow and be able to knock down that barrier. So if you have the ability to do that, that's going to really help with those tough conversations that you have when it comes to selling or buying, whatever the situation may be.
I mean, Sophia, you're 8 months in. Have you seen any obstacles yet from being a female or have you felt it at all yet?
Honestly, I haven't. Every one of my colleagues and in the office, they have been more than welcome to help me and mentor me and give me any advice that I would want. I don't think my gender has anything I've had such a smooth ride, and I don't think my gender had like an impact on what I'm doing right now.
And that's good for some of us. 20 years ago, right, when you came into the IT space, you were literally the only woman around.
Right. Yeah.
There was nobody else for you to look at. You'd sit in a room with 20, 30 people, and you'd be like, you wouldn't be that confident because you were young and it was difficult.
Even you'd go to a conference, right, and you could look around and you could count and be like, there's not many that look like me here.
Yeah.
No, there really aren't, and I think that makes it an interesting journey, right? I think for me, even though I'm still building a business, right, I still feel the need to give back, right? I have 20 years under my belt, so for me, being able to do things like this, to be doing weekly spotlights in tech, and being able to offer mentorship to people that want it, I think that's important because back then nobody had that, right?
Right.
You were just given a job, and that's the kind of job that you did. And then for me, it was more about giving back and showing people what they can do, right? The fact that a couple of years ago, I was technically an inside sales rep, right? Supporting account managers.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 4 years of last week, I have a CEO title. I mean, it holds some kind of weight from females. And I want women to look at that and say, wow, she can do it. Maybe I can. There was no one to look at back, Lisa, when it was you or I or Kim, right? There was nobody back then, right? We're all around the same age bracket. There's nobody to look at and say, wow, look what she did.
Exactly. And it's important to have these kind of forums that you're not alone.
Yeah, because you do feel kind of alone because there aren't enough people. They always say it's lonely at the top, and I didn't realize until I did this what that actually means.
I think making sure there's opportunities for younger people to know about some of the jobs that are out there, right? Like, I didn't know that this existed, right? I learned how to type on a typewriter, right? Like the internet was like, I remember that coming to be, right? So like the position that I started from is much different than people entering high school and college today. They live their lives on technology and they don't know a world without it. So I think making sure, figuring out ways, whether it's through education or programs like this, or getting into, areas where people can understand that you can make this your life, right? Like, and more female representation in that help delivers the products that are more gender neutral and all of the things that we use every day. So I think it's a long road that we need to have people in from the development, from the infrastructure, from the sales, all of that, I think will just reflect positively going forward.
And supporting each other, right? I think Kim and I, we've been together a long time, right? We've been in many meetings together, right? Mm-hmm. And supporting each other and having each other's back, right? And being there for each other and being a sounding board for each other. Because you can't always sound off a man. You just can't. We think differently, we feel differently, we act differently. I don't react the same way my business partner may react to something because I'm a female, right? So I take things more personal. I take things more to heart, right? Where they're a little more, they can draw the line between the two. I don't have that luxury. It's not in me, So I think we need each other to bounce things off of.
Yes.
I'm wondering Kim, if your journey in technology and your journey through your career, do you think it would look different if you are male?
Oh, it would become something different. Yes, I wouldn't have had to face some of the obstacles, some of the scrutiny, some of the perception. I recently did a panel, and one of the conditions to me being part of that panel is that I had to be honest. Obviously, we're always going to be appropriate, but what's the point of answering questions if you're not going to be straightforward? And it really is about perception. People want to put you in little boxes to make themselves feel comfortable, and that doesn't work for us. We need to be who we are. We need to be able to communicate the way we communicate. And if I were a man, I wouldn't have had to struggle You've been there, you've witnessed how much it's a knockdown, drag out fight sometimes. Yeah, literally, right?
Literally can be a knockout.
Yeah.
Maria, what about you?
I think what I mentioned earlier, building credibility, especially starting in technology at such a young age. I had to understand how to sell at the C-level, how to position, how to break into accounts. And when you don't have a reputation in the area, in the space, how are you going to do that? So that was tough, and it still is. But once you build that awareness and you partner with like yourself, if I partner with you where I can build my credibility, my brand, that helps. And then you start to build that ecosystem, and that really helps propel you on your journey forward. And it's continual. I think there are many more obstacles to come. And you figure it out along the way, and you have great mentors and leaders that will help you figure that out.
And Lisa, you've been doing it a long time with me. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I try to not think of it that way, right? Because I feel like I've been very successful in what I've done, and working at Russell Reynolds, they've really helped me grow and learn from where I was when I got here. I've held multiple positions. I didn't step into a management or a director role, so it's building confidence and having people trust my skills, my abilities. I think that helps people see, and I'm fortunate that I work at a company that was willing to acknowledge that and help. I think most of my experiences have probably been more passive, right? Whether it's in the meeting where somebody's not answering my questions or directing things in my way, comments people made like, oh, you understand this or you know this stuff, right? I think it was more passive as opposed to you're not going to get the job because you're a female. I have stories from even my prior company where I got a promotion over somebody else and that gentleman was very angry about it. So I think some of it's really being confident and displaying your true self, right? Go in with who you are, and people are going to like it or they're not. So I don't try to spend much time thinking about would my path have been different, because I'm happy with the path that I'm on, and I had to work for it. So I will continue to do so.
I think about risk and reward. Like for me, I had the same job for a really, really long time. And it wasn't until I decided that I wanted something a little bit different. I wanted to, I have a short time left in my career because I put my career has been a long and stellar career, right? So at the end of my career, my last 10, maybe 15 years, I wanted it to be a little bit different. So I wanted to look at the challenges and some of the things that have gone on in my past where I didn't feel as respected as I wanted to be. So jumping from that to just creating a business and was quite the risk, right? And then getting people to jump with you and start with you, right? Fortinet was probably one of the first vendors that we actually dealt with that really took us seriously, and really kind of helped align with us and help build the business. And it was finding, Maria, you've said it all along, right? Building your reputation, right? Building your credibility, right? Showing people that you can do it and you're serious, right? For me, it was challenging to just jump and do and try to make it work, and make people respect you for it and respect that title. Is there any, let's say, challenges that you've come across, Maria, where you feel that is a challenge you accepted and you excelled in, or a challenge you took a back step on, or anything like that happened in your career?
Yeah, I think when I started in tech, it was very much the unknown that was a challenge for me to accept. I had a plan for years of what I wanted my career to look like. And I went into the tech abyss and had to figure it out. And then I moved to New York City, and that was a risk in itself because I was young. I didn't have much experience in the space, and I had to figure out how to maintain a lifestyle here and also grow in my career. So those risks have been life-changing because I look back now and I see the diligence and the time and the effort that I put in to actually grow in my career. And there are many days that I wanted to quit and move back home and live a little bit more simply, but the reward is massive on the other side. So I'm very grateful to that. And Marianne, what you've done is quite an accomplishment. So I think we're all super proud, not only at Fortinet, but personally. I think the ceiling's very high too. So looking forward to see what else you can do.
Lord, me too. I mean, Sophia, you obviously only been doing this 8 months. I mean, do you already feel a sense of accomplishment that you've kind of jumped into the tech space and you've kind of had a softer landing than like me or Lisa or Kim?
I mean, I've had an advantage with Maria pushing me into the tech space and introducing me to all the leaders, and I've gotten to know them on a personal level. And I think that's a great advantage to have for my future. If I ever wanted to go to the next role, they would see me as not just Maria's sister, but as an accomplished Fortinet sales leader or something like that. So, I mean, I've had challenges, nothing like you guys. Like I work in sales, like with like calling prospects. And the biggest challenge that I had was a customer hanging up on me and like yelling at me, like, don't call me ever again. I was like, I'm sorry. Like this is just my job. But a reward is the next call I have is a guy who would say, hey, I would love to sit down with the sales team and get to know Fortinet more. So there's always a risk and reward.
That never changes, by the way. 20-something years, Maria and I prospects. We're on the prospecting side, so we know that never changes, and it never gets any different. Someone will always hang up on you and yell at you.
Always.
One call that keeps you going.
Yes, definitely, most definitely.
So, if one of the things I always think about, right, as being a female, is trying to find other ways, other organizations, or other ways that women can keep in touch with each other. Are there any organizations or ways that you guys keep in touch or have suggestions to how we can stay in touch with each other? Like from an organizational perspective.
I know Women in the Channel is very popular, and it's something that I've done in the past that I thought was pretty fruitful. But it's a great question that you raised because I think there should be more organizations that we can join in whatever major city that we're in. And I'm not quite sure what our options are.
Yeah, I mean, Women in the Channel is great, but you have to be on our side, right? It's not really for customers, really. It's really VARs, distributors, and and manufacturers, right? So there isn't too many organizations that can support the females in the tech space. I mean, Kim, you're in the public sector. Do you have anything on your side?
So it's funny you ask that. I'm a huge fan of Shirley Chisholm. I mean, she said when there's no seat at the table, you bring a folding chair. So I created Women in Tech in the Port Authority because there was no place to collaborate. And it's not just about women who want to just continue in a career in technology or STEM, so to speak. It's people who have any kind of tech in their existing role, but they want to feel more comfortable. Because we have a large population who's just not comfortable with the technology. We want to get them there, and they make sure that they have like a natural interest in it, right? Because knowledge is power. People are afraid of what they don't know about.
I mean, Lisa, I don't know if do you belong to any organizations at all?
Nothing specific. I have noticed. I recently went to an event hosted by SIM. They have a women's kind of division of it, and then it was a women's specific, which I thought was very interesting. The whole event, it was hosted in New Jersey, and I thought it was fantastic. But I've noticed that more and more partnerships that I'm in, like Slack, for example, they recently hosted a roundtable, and so I'm starting to see companies hosting and reaching out to their clients or partners, and then they're having events like this, which is great, right? It's great for networking. It's great for seeing other women kind of in the same positions that we are. I also think, while obviously women in tech is, a passion and a focus of mine, I think women in leadership in general is, I don't think it has to be specific to tech. I think that can stripe, across other areas as well. We recently started inclusion networks within our organization, and hearing about what people go through at the different levels that they're at, different roles. I think you can learn from each of those, right? You can take experiences that maybe you don't deal with because your role's a bit different, but you can see how there could be impact or benefit there. So I think anytime you can participate in an event, take it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, I learned a lot from my Women in Channel is definitely something that I spend a lot of time with. Right? I belong to their executive committee, and somebody had asked me once during the monthly meetings, who balances you? Like when you go off balance, which again, I'm a female, so I tend to go off balance every once in a while. Who rebalances you? And, it's been very helpful for me to have those executives, whether they're VPs of wherever, right? I think it's helpful to have them, even though they are tech specific, because it helps to talk to each other, share your experiences on a monthly basis, right? Kind of feed off each other. Like there was an event that Fortinet was having, and I was kind of nervous because they were turning the executive council meeting into an in-person meeting. And I was slightly intimidated for going to an in-person meeting for an executive council because I know by being on the video conferences, I'm the only woman that's on the council. So I was super intimidated by going because most of them are CEOs or CTOs of large resellers. And I was the only, what I call small reseller on the panel. So they kind of talked me, and she's kind of Kim. They said the same thing, right? If they don't give you the seat at the table, go find your own.
That's right.
My biggest fear was walking in and not knowing who to sit with, who to talk to. And they were like, you know what? If you're intimidated by a specific company, go take that chair next to them, go sit next to them, and make them uncomfortable. Don't you be uncomfortable. But that's a learning curve for me, Sophia, even now.
I was going to say, that's pretty brave.
I didn't have to do it because they canceled because of COVID, but I will do it when I have it.
I think it's also interesting when you think about the social events that you have with partners, or, when they have things, they're like golf outings or things that aren't necessarily, and I'm not saying women don't golf, and there are plenty that do, but I do feel like some of those things are very much like focused towards a camaraderie that I am not a part of. so, I've been invited to those things, and sometimes you're like, oh gosh, that's awkward. I don't do that sport. You're now with this group of people you don't know, right? Like, for people who are into that, that's probably very welcoming. But I think even opportunities like that, I'm sometimes a little gun shy on, because I'm like, oh, there's nothing about that seems like it's my wheelhouse.
Oh yeah, because if you don't golf, what are you going to do the whole time? Sit in a golf cart?
Right.
I don't golf. I've tried. I've been kicked off more golf courses than I care to admit. It's just not a sport that I can do. I mean, it's the same thing. It's very geared towards 90% of the population. I've held events, right? We're doing one on Thursday night, right, at the Moxie. I guarantee of the 200 people, maybe 20 will be women, maybe 25. If we're lucky. That's always, they was like, oh, do you want to do dancing? I'm like, no, because of the 200 people, there'll be 5 of us, and I'm not dancing for 2 hours. And you, so no dancing. So there's nobody there. So they always talk to the people, the small handful of people that are available. And that's why I guess I do it, because I'm a female, so I do it generically. But like you said, having golf outings or, stuff like that, or any kind of contact sport, a lot of us don't do that.
No,
right?
the interesting thing is that's how I started to golf. I had a male boss who was a really good ally, and he said, you're a woman, you're a Black woman. If you don't learn how to golf, no one's ever going to pay any attention to you. So I went to all the golf outings, and I took golf lessons so I could beat some of them.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You still golf today?
I still golf today.
Really?
That was a long time ago, and I still golf today. Yes.
I don't golf at all.
We should all go.
I'll golf through my finger, but I've never actually golfed well. I think if I look at, so one of the questions I always like that I ask myself is, what would I tell my younger self, right? Because I think back And in the last 10 minutes, I told you it goes fast.
Yeah.
Look back to what would I tell my younger self, right? I would tell my younger self, and Sophia, you won't have this luxury, so I may have to pass on you. But we'll try it. What would I tell my younger self? I would tell my younger self to be more confident in yourself, to take more pride in who you are and what you bring to the table. And don't let people tell you that they made you who you are, right? People and the jobs and the companies you work for give you a forum. It's what you do at that forum who makes who makes you who you are, right? No one does that for you. And I think that I let myself believe for a really long time that I owed people for my career, right? And I think that it wasn't until I did what I did and realized that I made myself who I am, right? My dedication, my reputation, all the things that Maria said before, that made me who I am, right? Lisa, what would you say to that?
I would say confidence for sure. You need to start with confidence. I think even bigger than that, you have to, even if you don't believe it in yourself, you have to show it, right? Until you believe it, show it, and ask for what's yours. Like be knowledgeable in what others are doing around you and work for the same things. No one's going to hand it to you. Guys have no problem going in and asking for the raise, the promotion, the title, all of the desk with the nice view, all that. And we're just not known to be those people. I myself, right, when I was given my role, I was like, oh no, I'm fine where I am with my team, I'm good. And it was the CIO who was like, no, you need to sit there because that's the difference. But you need to be comfortable in that and you need to own it and go after it because everyone else is. And if you're not, you're going to be left behind.
That's good. Own it. Maria, what about you?
I think always ask for help. There's a community of people that want to see you successful. And in order to grow and change, you have to be willing to ask, even when you are struggling. And I think it took me a long time to get there, to come to terms with, okay, I am struggling with this, but people want to help me and help me succeed. And I think, looking back, I don't think women should set limits on what they can do and what they can achieve. Realize that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. And like both of you said, go after it and own it. There's a presence and when you command the room, that speaks volumes, and that will show to an audience too.
Sophia, I'll ask you.
Well, what Maria said, like, I was always afraid to ask questions, but now I know always ask questions because everyone is always willing to help. And no question is stupid.
True. Very true.
So you just want to learn. That's all. And every obstacle that gets thrown your way, you'll always improve with that certain circumstance.
Yeah. My friend Sassy Kim.
It's a few things. So one, always the source, right? There's a lot of people that will discourage you, but they don't know you. Who are they? If someone tells you that you're too much or you're intimidating, that's not your problem, that's their problem. And I have to quote, like, my favorite Peloton instructor is Robin Arzon. She said, when someone tells you that you are biting off more than you tell them that you'd rather do greatness than swallow the other.
We should do a women's event with Peloton and have Robin as a speaker.
Oh my gosh, yes. Sign me up.
That's fantastic.
I will be there. I think there's a whole group of them where they could have from Peloton. That would be great.
Yes, Justin. I mean, they're all amazing and they're so good for your spirit. It really is a mind, body, like spirit balance when you do Peloton, and it really gets you ready for the rest of the day. It really does. They've saved a lot of lives and around me by making me do that in the morning.
Well, I'll see you on there tomorrow.
I was going to say, I'll look for you. I'm usually on around 5:30.
Okay, cool. Yeah, me too. Yep.
That's what I could use. I need that little balance, which I don't have today.
That little pep talk. And it's all relevant. It's like they can see into your life. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I've never been a big J-Lo fan because she spends a lot of time in the news, and She's got a whole bunch of stuff around her. But she had an acceptance speech the other day, and I forgot one of the award ceremony. That was the first time I saw her, like literally say stuff that really kind of resonated.
Mm-hmm.
She started by thanking the doubters, the
Yeah.
haters. She started by doubting the people who did not believe in her and thanking them for not believing in her and for not having her back. And that was the first time I've seen her actually do that. She was gracious to the people who tried to keep her from doing what she wanted to do. She thanked them all first, which I've never seen her do. That was such a human side that I've never seen in her before. That made me respect her so much more. Like, I actually remember that instead of the benefit stuff.
Yeah.
But it made me so much more respectful of her that she could say stuff like that, like thanking your haters for helping you get where you are today. Because you always thank the people around you, right, who've helped you get there. But I've never seen someone thank the people who didn't help them. And if you think about that, they actually help you more, especially as women, because we're feisty and we're stubborn, right? So we push forward no matter what anybody does or says to us. But that was kind of cool. It made me think about people on my side, right, who wanted me not to be successful and not do what I wanted to do, right? And people I had to, as Kim was there for a lot of it, right?
You would need 2 hours just to thank all of them. Your list is long.
My list is long. It gets longer every day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anybody saw that, but I thought that was kind of cool. I think
I
that was
saw
fun.
it, and it was moving. It was.
It was, and she doesn't usually move me. That was the first time she actually moved me to actually make me think of her.
She's guarded because of so many haters, right? And I think you've learned to be that way as well. You have to protect your peace.
Yeah, I think somebody told me the other day that it was a female CEO that I met through one of our business partners, and she basically said, "This is your house. You own it. You do it your way."
That's right.
Again, I'm not as spicy, but I'll work that way.
Have it in you. Let it emerge.
Yeah.
It's there.
Because you're speaking for others, right? I always told you that, right? When I was going through some tough struggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't speaking for just me, right? I was always speaking for other women, right?
Yep.
Who couldn't speak as loudly or had as much sassiness to stand up and do what they had to do. I always felt like I was standing up for everybody else, right? And not just myself.
Mm-hmm.
So we are almost 3-minute mark. I told you it goes really fast. Is there anything else, Lisa, that you think you want to share with the audience or the team?
No, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. I think events like this are fantastic. It's been lovely to meet all of you. And this is, I think, how we build networks, right? And together we can just help move things forward.
Yeah. Maria?
Yeah, just wanted to thank you for the opportunity and to meet fellow women in the space as well. I have a connection to Robin, so set something up. No promises though. But thank you again. It's a pleasure to just learn from others, and I appreciate it.
Sophia, welcome to the tech space.
Thank you. This
Any parting words from you?
This has been such a great opportunity. This is my first Women in Tech webinar, so I'm very excited for many more in the upcoming years. And days or months.
Oh, that parting words for Kim.
It's wonderful
Throw
to
it
meet
at me, Kim.
you. I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and to everyone else, never, ever, ever give up. Never.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll see you next
Great.
time.
Thank
Thank you, guys.